Picture this, a fortress, unshakable and strong. Imagine the light piercing through the darkest night, casting away every shadow. What if you knew there was a secret to living fearless, even when dangers surround you? Today, we dive deep into a powerful message that holds the key to unwavering confidence and peace. Think about a moment when fear gripped your heart. What if I told you there's a way to stand tall, no matter the storm? In a world where uncertainties loom, wouldn't it be incredible to discover a sanctuary, a safe haven that promises protection and guidance? In this journey, we explore ancient wisdom that resonates with our deepest desires for security and hope. How can we find light when all seems dark? What gives us the courage to face our greatest fears? Hold on, because what you're about to uncover will transform the way you see every challenge that comes your way. The secrets of strength, peace, and unshakable faith are waiting for you. Are you ready to unlock them? Stay tuned as we unravel these timeless truths and embark on a path to fearless living. Let's dive deep and discover the extraordinary together. Psalm 27 begins with a powerful declaration of confidence in God. The psalmist refers to God as his light and salvation. This imagery of light suggests that God is the one who brings clarity and guidance in times of darkness and confusion. The idea of salvation implies that God is the one who rescues and delivers from peril. By acknowledging God as the light and salvation, the psalmist sets a tone of trust and assurance. This confidence in God as a source of strength helps to dispel any fear. The psalmist explicitly states that with God as his light and salvation, there is no need to fear anyone or anything. This statement is a bold proclamation of faith, indicating that the presence of God is more powerful than any adversary or challenge. It's a comforting thought that no matter what happens, God's presence is enough to overcome fear. Moreover, by calling God the strength of his life, the psalmist underscores that this relationship is not just a matter of spiritual or emotional support. It's about real, tangible strength that empowers everyday living. This strength is what gives the psalmist the ability to face adversities head-on. Knowing that his life is anchored in God's power, he can navigate through life's challenges with confidence. The psalmist's trust in God is not based on mere wishful thinking. It comes from a deep-seated belief and experience of God's faithfulness. This history of God's intervention in difficult times reinforces the psalmist's trust. When he declares God as his light and salvation, he is drawing from past experiences where God has indeed been his source of guidance and deliverance. This initial declaration in Psalm 27 sets the stage for the rest of the psalm. It establishes a foundation of trust that will be built upon throughout the subsequent verses. By starting with this proclamation, the psalmist invites readers to also place their confidence in God, encouraging them to see God as their own light and salvation. Before we dive into today's content, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you enjoy our videos and want to see more exciting content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It's the best way to support us and stay updated on all the new meditations and videos we share. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of our community. And now, enjoy the video. Following the declaration of trust, the psalmist expresses his faith in divine protection. He believes that God will protect him from enemies and dangerous situations. This belief is rooted in the conviction that God is actively involved in his life, shielding him from harm. The psalmist is confident that even when enemies rise against him, they will ultimately fail because of God's intervention. He vividly describes his enemies as those who come to devour his flesh. This graphic imagery emphasizes the severity of the threats he faces. Despite this, the psalmist remains unshaken because he trusts in God's protection. He is certain that these adversaries will stumble and fall, not by their own doing, but because of God's powerful presence. The psalmist's faith in protection is not just theoretical, it is very practical. He believes that God's protection is something he can rely on in real-life situations. This assurance allows him to live without constant fear. It frees him to focus on his relationship with God and his daily life, knowing that God has his back. This confidence in divine protection is also a source of courage. The psalmist knows that with God on his side, he can face any adversary with boldness. This courage is not about being reckless, but about having a steadfast belief that God's protection is sufficient. It's a reminder that faith in God's protection can empower individuals to confront challenges that might otherwise seem insurmountable. Ultimately, the psalmist's expression of faith in divine protection serves as an encouragement to others. It is a call to trust in God's ability to protect and to find peace in His power. By sharing his own experience, the psalmist invites others to also find refuge in God's protection, reinforcing the idea that no enemy is too great when God is on your side. One of the most profound desires of the psalmist is to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of his life. This longing is not just about being in a physical place, but about being in close communion with God. The house of the Lord represents a place of safety, peace, and divine presence. For the psalmist, dwelling there means constantly being in God's presence and experiencing His beauty. The psalmist expresses a deep yearning to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord. This desire goes beyond visual appreciation. It is about experiencing the full essence of God's majesty and splendor. It's a longing to be continually awed and inspired by God's presence. This desire reflects a heart that seeks to be filled with the wonder and glory of God. Additionally, the psalmist wants to seek God's guidance in His temple. The temple is seen as a place where divine wisdom and direction are imparted. By wanting to be there, the psalmist shows his dependence on God for guidance in all aspects of life. It's a recognition that true direction and purpose come from being in tune with God's will. This longing to dwell in the house of the Lord also signifies a desire for stability and constancy in one's spiritual journey. The psalmist does not want to be a mere visitor in God's presence. He wants to make it his permanent residence. This reflects a commitment to a lifelong relationship with God, one that is unwavering and steadfast. The psalmist's desire to dwell in the house of the Lord serves as an inspiration for believers. It's a call to prioritize being in God's presence above all else. By sharing this deep longing, the psalmist encourages others to seek the same communion with God, to find their ultimate satisfaction and fulfillment in Him alone. The psalmist finds immense comfort in seeing the Lord as a source of security and refuge, especially in times of trouble. He believes that God will hide him in a safe place, away from the reach of his enemies. This sense of divine protection is crucial, as it reassures the psalmist that no matter how severe the adversities he faces, he will be shielded by God's powerful presence. The imagery of God elevating him to a rock signifies stability and safety, providing a strong foundation that cannot be easily shaken by external threats. In moments of danger, the psalmist doesn't panic. Instead, he turns to his faith, which serves as his anchor. This unwavering trust in God's protection is what allows him to face his fears with confidence. He knows that God's shelter is not just a temporary hideout, but a permanent refuge where he can find solace and strength. This assurance transforms his outlook on life's challenges, making him resilient against the schemes of his enemies. The idea of God as a refuge is not just about physical safety, but also emotional and spiritual security. The psalmist feels that in God's presence, he is lifted above the chaos and turmoil of the world. This elevation is symbolic of a higher state of peace and tranquility, comes from being close to God. It's a reminder that true safety and refuge are found not in worldly protections, but in the divine embrace of the Creator. Furthermore, the psalmist's confidence in God's protection is a testament to his deep relationship with the Lord. He has experienced God's faithfulness in the past, which strengthens his trust for the present and future. This relationship is built on years of faith, prayer, and witnessing God's hand in his life. As a result, the psalmist can proclaim his faith in God's protective power, unwavering certainty. The concept of God as a refuge also serves as an encouragement to others who are facing their own battles. By sharing his personal experience of God's protection, the psalmist offers hope to those who may feel vulnerable and afraid. His testimony reminds believers that they too can find safety and security in the Lord, no matter what challenges they encounter. This collective trust in divine protection builds a community of faith, supports and uplifts one another. The psalmist's yearning for God's continuous presence is a central theme in his spiritual journey. He fervently calls out to the Lord, asking him not to hide his face and to remain his constant help and guide. This deep longing reflects the psalmist's understanding that a life lived in the presence of God is one filled with purpose, direction, and fulfillment. He recognizes that without God's guidance, he is vulnerable to the uncertainties and challenges of life. This continuous seeking is not a passive act, but a dynamic and active pursuit of a relationship with God. The psalmist engages in prayer, worship, and meditation, constantly striving to draw closer to the Lord. His dedication to maintaining this divine connection demonstrates his belief that God's presence is essential for his well-being and spiritual growth. It's a relationship that requires effort, commitment, and a sincere desire to know God more deeply. The psalmist's plea for God's presence also reveals his dependency on divine assistance. He acknowledges that even those closest to him, like family and friends, may abandon him. God's presence is steadfast and unwavering. This dependency is not a sign of weakness, but rather a profound understanding of human limitations and the need for divine intervention. The psalmist's trust in God's unchanging nature provides him with a sense of security and assurance that he cannot find elsewhere. Moreover, the psalmist's desire for God's presence is intertwined with his need for guidance. He seeks God's direction in every aspect of his life, knowing that the Lord's wisdom is superior to his own understanding. This humility and recognition of God's omniscience are what drive the psalmist to continually seek divine counsel. He is aware that without God's guidance, he is prone to making mistakes and falling into traps set by his enemies. Continuous seeking of God's presence is also a source of comfort and joy for the psalmist. God's presence finds peace, strength, and an overwhelming sense of love. This divine companionship fills the void that earthly relationships cannot satisfy. The psalmist's relentless pursuit of this relationship is a testament to the transformative power of living in constant communion with the Creator. It's an invitation to all believers to seek and cherish the presence of God in their own lives. The psalmist earnestly prays for divine guidance and teachings, recognizing that he cannot navigate life's complexities alone. His plea for direction is a humble acknowledgement of his own limitations and a testament to his faith in God's omniscience. By seeking God's guidance, the psalmist demonstrates his desire to walk the right path and avoid the pitfalls set by his adversary. This prayer for guidance is rooted in a deep trust in God's wisdom and understanding. The psalmist believes that God's teachings are the ultimate source of truth and righteousness. He is aware that human wisdom often falls short and can lead to erroneous decisions. Therefore, he turns to the Lord, seeking instruction on how to live a life that is pleasing to God and aligned with divine principle. In addition to guidance, the psalmist also seeks protection from deceit and falsehood. He is acutely aware of the presence of false witnesses and adversaries who seek to mislead and harm him. By praying for God's teachings, he hopes to develop discernment and the ability to distinguish between truth and lies. This divine insight is crucial for navigating the moral and spiritual challenges he faces. The psalmist's prayer is also an expression of his commitment to spiritual growth. He desires to learn and grow in his faith, understanding that this growth is a lifelong journey. By seeking God's teachings, he aims to deepen his relationship with the Lord and become more attuned to his will. This continuous learning process is a vital aspect of the psalmist's spiritual life. Furthermore, the psalmist's prayer for guidance and teachings serves as an example for all believers. It highlights the importance of seeking divine direction in every aspect of life, from the mundane to the significant. By prioritizing God's wisdom over human understanding, believers can navigate life's challenges with confidence and integrity. The psalmist's earnest plea reminds us that true guidance and wisdom come from a close and committed relationship with God. The psalmist concludes with a powerful message of hope and patience, encouraging others to wait on the Lord with courage and confidence. He understands that life's challenges can be overwhelming, but he reassures his readers that God will strengthen their hearts if they remain steadfast in their faith. This message of hope is a beacon of light for those who are weary and discouraged. Hope in the Lord is not a passive waiting, but an active trust in God's timing and plan. The psalmist emphasizes the importance of maintaining a positive and courageous attitude while waiting for God's intervention. He believes that God's promises are true and that those who wait on the Lord will experience His faithfulness and goodness. This hope is a source of strength that sustains the psalmist through difficult times. Patience is another key aspect of the psalmist's message. He encourages believers to be patient, knowing that God's timing is perfect. This patience is not about idly waiting, but about trusting that God is working behind the scenes, even when we cannot see it. The psalmist's own experiences of God's faithfulness reinforce his belief that waiting on the Lord is always worthwhile. The psalmist's message of hope and patience is also a call to resilience. He understands that life will present challenges and obstacles, but he urges believers to remain strong and steadfast in their faith. By focusing on God's promises and maintaining a hopeful outlook, they can overcome any adversity. This resilience is a testament to the transformative power of hope and patience in the Lord. Finally, the psalmist's encouragement to wait on the Lord serves as a reminder of the collective strength of the faith community. By supporting and uplifting one another, believers can navigate life's challenges together. The psalmist's message fosters a sense of unity and shared purpose, reminding us that we are not alone in our journey of faith. This collective hope and patience strengthen the entire community, creating a foundation of unwavering trust in the Lord. The psalmist begins this section with a heartfelt prayer, seeking divine guidance and teachings. He understands that life is fraught with challenges and temptations, and navigating these without proper direction can lead to disastrous consequences. Therefore, he turns to God, ultimate source of wisdom, to illuminate his path and help him avoid the snares set by his adversaries. This reflects a profound humility and recognition of human limitations, acknowledging that true knowledge and discernment come from a higher power. The psalmist's request for guidance is not merely about avoiding pitfalls, but also about aligning himself with a righteous way of living. He desires to follow the path that pleases God, which requires understanding His commandments and precepts. This involves a continuous learning process, where the psalmist remains open to receiving and implementing divine instructions in his daily life. The emphasis here is on an active and ongoing relationship with God, characterized by seeking and applying His wisdom. Furthermore, the psalmist is acutely aware of the presence of false witnesses and adversaries who seek to lead him astray. These are individuals who distort the truth and present misleading information, making it even more critical for the psalmist to have a clear and unwavering sense of divine guidance. By seeking God's teachings, he aims to develop the discernment needed to distinguish between truth and falsehood, ensuring that he remains steadfast in his faith and action. Prayer for divine teachings also highlights a deep sense of trust in God's ability to provide the necessary wisdom. The psalmist is confident that God will respond to his sincere pleas for guidance, reinforcing the idea that God is a reliable source of support and direction. This trust is foundational to the psalmist's faith, as it reassures him that he is not alone in his journey and that divine assistance is always available to those who earnestly seek it. In conclusion, the psalmist's prayer for guidance and teachings underscores the importance of relying on divine wisdom to navigate life's challenges. It reflects a humble acknowledgement of human limitations, a desire to live righteously, and a deep trust in God's ability to provide direction. By seeking divine teachings, the psalmist aims to remain on the correct path, avoid the traps set by adversaries, and cultivate a life that aligns with God's will. The final section of the psalm is a powerful message of hope and encouragement, urging believers to wait on the Lord. The psalmist understands that life's difficulties and uncertainties can be overwhelming, but he counsels patience and trust in God's timing and plan. This advice is rooted in the belief that God is faithful and will ultimately fulfill His promises to those who remain steadfast in their faith. Waiting on the Lord involves more than just passive patience. It requires an active and hopeful expectation. God will intervene in His perfect timing. The psalmist encourages believers to maintain a positive and courageous attitude, even when circumstances seem dire. This is because he knows that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events for the ultimate good of those who trust in him. Call to be of good courage reinforces the idea that hope in God is not futile, but a source of strength and resilience. The psalmist also emphasizes the importance of heart strength during periods of waiting. He assures believers that God will strengthen their hearts, providing them with the emotional and spiritual fortitude needed to endure challenges. This divine strengthening is crucial for maintaining faith and hope, as it helps believers resist the temptation to give in to despair or discouragement. The psalmist's message is clear: those who wait on the Lord will find their hearts fortified by his presence and power. Moreover, the concept of waiting on the Lord is closely tied to the idea of trusting in his goodness and sovereignty. The psalmist's encouragement to wait on God is based on the conviction that God's plans are always perfect, even if they are not immediately apparent. This trust in God's overarching plan provides a sense of peace and assurance, helping believers navigate life's uncertainties with confidence. It reinforces the belief that God's timing is impeccable and that he will act in the best interest of his people. In summary, the psalmist's message of hope and patience in the Lord is a powerful reminder of the importance of trusting in God's timing and plan. It encourages believers to maintain a positive and courageous attitude, assured that God will strengthen their hearts and fulfill his promises. By waiting on the Lord, believers can find peace, resilience, and the confidence that God's plans are always for their ultimate good. As we wrap up our reflection on Psalm 27, let's take a moment to truly let these words resonate in our hearts. Remember, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? This verse is a powerful reminder that no matter what challenges we face, we are never alone. Now let's think about how we can apply this psalm in our daily lives. How can we let God's light guide us through our darkest moments? What are the fears that we need to surrender to him today? Consider this. When David wrote Psalm 27, he was surrounded by enemies, yet his faith remained unshaken. What enemies are you facing right now? Be it stress, doubt, or uncertainty? How can you draw from David's unwavering trust to overcome these obstacles? Take a deep breath and let go of your fears. Pray for strength and courage. Ask yourself, how can I be a beacon of God's light in someone else's life today? Reflect on these questions and let them guide your prayers and actions this week. This message touched your heart. Imagine what more is in store for you. Stay connected, keep the faith strong, and never forget that you are a beacon of light in this world.